All right, y'all. I know you probably heard of this saying going around. It's called a nitrogen blitz. This is a situation where people are going in and they're throwing a ton of nitrogen on their lawn every week in order to promote it to grow during the beginning of either the cool season lawn or to promote storage of carbohydrates and extra nutrients in a warm season lawn at the end of the season, like late, mid to late fall. They want to throw this nitrogen blitz out there, to promote growth, green color, to get the grass to be vibrant. But anyway, I want to give you something else on top of that. I know a lot of your influencers are out there that you follow on various platforms, YouTube being the number one in my opinion. But there's something that's being missed here. And in this video, I want to explain something to you that may alter your decision or opinion about doing a nitrogen blitz. First of all, one of the things I want to tell you about is this is just the science of it. When you're putting out nitrogen on your lawn, one of the things that you need to be aware of is that you are not getting all of that nitrogen to the grass. It is not there. It doesn't stay in the lawn. What's happening is when you put the nitrogen out on the lawn, the grass is immediately taking it up because it only feeds the grass. Grass is immediately taking up all the nitrogen. And then there's some being stored in the lawn. Now, this is called the CEC. That storage, that's cation exchange capacity. Basically, in a nutshell, how much nutrients can your grass store and hold? And there's a limit to that. So you got to understand, thinking about yourself, you can go in and go to the restaurant. You can't eat all the food in the restaurant, can you? You can't do it. So getting all the extra food coming to your table is for what? You can't eat it. And if you have something like a deep freezer to store all this food, that is great. You can put the food in the deep freezer, but the deep freezer has a set amount that it can hold. After you get so much, what are you doing here? You can't save it because it can't go in the deep freezer. You can't eat it all, and it can't go in the deep freezer. Well, this is similar to what's going on when people are out here telling you to do a nitrogen blitz, and that's the exact same thing. The grass can only use so much, just like you can only eat so much, and just like any other organism on the planet that eats, it only can eat so much, and it can only store so much. The rest of it, when it comes down to the synthetic fertilizer, the rest of it is dissipated up into the air, adding to the ozone layer, or it goes into the leaches. Leaching means that it goes through the soil and it goes so far deep after all the rain that we put in water and sprinkle we put on it reaches the underground streams and it goes to a waterway, something like a lake, stream, a pond, or something like that, affecting the marine life. That's what that is. You lose most of it. So when you're out here throwing all this nitrogen on your lawn, you're not doing exactly what you're set out, because there is a finite amount of nitrogen that can be uploaded, that can be stored. And some of this stuff is like very evident, like when you leave a pile of too much nitrogen in the area, it burns and dehydrates, and you see that burning. The grass couldn't use that. So I want you to think about that when you're out here doing a nitrogen blitz. It is just not worth it. And there are some other things I want to show you that will be worth it. Instead of doing a nitrogen blitz, you can do a microbial blitz. That's going to be something. Or even a carbon blitz. That's going to be something. Your money will be well spent doing those two things far better than a nitrogen blitz. And let me explain a little bit more. Okay, right here, I got some organic. This is basically chicken manure, and this is carbon. And what I have here is I got this on here, been sitting here for about a week. I want to let it sit for 2 more weeks. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing the carbon and the chicken manure together. What's happening is the carbon is absorbing the nutrients in the chicken manure. So when I put it out, uh, it will be already set and ready and won't have to grab uh, any nutrients from the soil or keeping it from the grass. It's going to leave all that available. Now, this is what's called raising your CEC, your cation exchange capacity, because the carbon is going to increase the amount of water and amount of nutrients that the soil can hold. This is what's going to keep you from having to fertilize often because it is holding all those nutrients that you're putting out as opposed to letting it leach out or evaporate into the air. That carbon blitz is something that will go way further than a nitrogen blitz because it's going to allow you to use less of the nitrogen anyway because it's going to hold it. So that's one of the biggest things that you can do. Now, the other thing you can do is a microbial blitz. This is where I go in, and um, that's where the chicken manure comes in at because you are adding more nutrients into the ground and you're adding more microbes to the ground. And another thing you can do is also add compost. This is what's happening here. I also have carbon mixed in with this. I'm adding more nutrients and more microbes to the lawn. This is just going to take the lawn to another level. And if you don't know, microbes is everything when it comes down to the lawn. That's how it works. The grass is feeding through the microbes. That's why areas like all that up there, see all that nice and green and all that stuff is not fertilized. That the plants and trees, the grass, the weeds, and everything else that's out there is making its own nutrients, its own NP and K. It's doing everything on its own. It's just leaning on natural resources in order to grow. And you can do the same thing for your lawn. You can just give it all those natural resources and let it do what it do. It also is fighting the the fungicides and the fungus. It's actually fighting the fungus. What's happening with that? The salt that's inside the fertilizers, it really deals. It does. The salt inside the fertilizer, it really does affect the microbial activity in your lawn. The good bacteria does not like the salt. The bad bacteria does. The bad bacteria also known as like fungus. Fungus loves that. So you're getting the fungus in your lawns because you're using too much of the fertilizer. Too much of the good bacteria is being ran off. So you want to keep throwing good bacteria in there to keep that balance there, to keep the bad bacteria from having a more of a you don't want to have a pandemic, or you just don't want to have overgrowth there. You want that balance there. So that's what's going on with synthetic fertilizers. So you have to alleviate that by using stuff like compost. Y'all ever heard that saying, uh ain't nothing 100% for sure except for death and taxes. I'm going to add to that: death, taxes, and turf type tall fescue will get a fungus if you're using synthetic fertilizers. That's why I've been able to keep this grass here. This is grass that's been here for years. Yes, it's been genetically modified, and it's called Titan GLX. It has been modified to deal with this heat that we have here in North Texas. But I've also lost a lot of this because over the years, because I was using synthetic fertilizers, meaning that I didn't have enough beneficial microbes to fight off the fungus, even with adding fungicides. So it wasn't until I stopped that I realized that the fertilizer that I was using was causing all the issues that I was having. So if you have a turf type tall fescue, my suggestion to you is to skip the synthetic fertilizers altogether. A lot of people, it's like a big secret, like nobody knows about it. I see all the people on here with channels talking about turf type tall fescue, and some of them are in better growing environments than I am. I'm in Texas, and their lawns look worse after the summer than mine. They are not knowing that it's the fertilizer that's doing everything to their lawn, as opposed to the natural growing habits of the fescue, which is hard to deal with fungus and all that other stuff. But that's what it is. So will I be doing a nitrogen blitz? Absolutely not. I will be doing a carbon blitz and a mycorrhizal blitz. I will do a compost blitz or whatever you want to call it. That is what's going to make your lawn stand out for the next year. That's what's going to make your lawn survive the harshest seasons of the year. It is not going to be the synthetic fertilizers. I will absolutely, positively advise against doing a nitrogen blitz. The money will be well spent doing adding carbon to the lawn, adding compost to the lawn, adding something like a cow manure, chicken manure, even something like malorganite, which is human poop. I would suggest that, because that other stuff is just a no bueno.